Miyamoto Musashi wasn't born free from caring what people thought. He was worse than you are right now. As a young man, he was a slave to his reputation. He fought anyone who looked at him wrong. His ego was so fragile that an insult could make him kill. He was chained to approval, and those chains almost destroyed him. Then something shifted. Decades alone in mountains and caves stripped away everything he thought he needed. By the time he wrote his final words, 7 days before death, he had reached a state most men never touch. Complete freedom from the opinions of others. 61 duels, 0 losses, 21 precepts that reveal exactly how he did it. By the end of this video, you'll have the 3 mental patterns he used. We're breaking down his final work, the Dokodo, piece by piece. And it starts with a truth about the prison you didn't know you built for yourself. Part 1, the social prison. Here's something you won't admit out loud. Before you left your house today, you made at least one decision based on what a stranger might think. Maybe you changed your shirt. Maybe you held back a sentence. Maybe you took a different route to avoid someone you didn't want to see. Small choices, invisible, but they add up to something terrifying. You're not free. Every conversation you have runs through a filter first. How will this sound? What will they think? Will they judge me for this? And by the time those questions finish running, the real you never makes it out of your mouth. Musashi understood this trap better than anyone. He called it a tactical weakness. His logic was simple. If someone can make you angry with words, they control your next move. If someone can make you proud with praise, they control your direction. Either way, you handed them the sword. And here's what makes it worse. You're not performing for people who care. You're performing for an audience that forgets you exist the moment you leave the room. Think about the last time someone embarrassed themselves in front of you. A stranger who tripped, a coworker who said something awkward. How long did you think about it? 5 minutes? Maybe 10? Now think about your own embarrassing moment. You've replayed it hundreds of times. Years later, it still stings. Meanwhile, everyone who witnessed it deleted it from memory before lunch. This is the prison. You're serving a life sentence for crimes no one remembers you committing. And social media poured gasoline on this fire. 100 years ago, your audience was maybe 50 people. Your village, your family, a small circle. Now it's 50,000. Every post, every photo, every opinion, broadcast to strangers who will scroll past in half a second, but somehow still have the power to make you hesitate before you hit send. The enemy here isn't other people's opinions. The enemy is that you gave those opinions power without realizing you had a choice. But here's the thing, Musashi wasn't born knowing this. He didn't wake up one day immune to judgment. He learned it the hard way, and his starting point was far worse than yours. Part 2, the beast who needed everyone's respect. Takezo was a monster, not the disciplined swordsman history remembers. That came later. In the beginning, he was raw rage wrapped in skin. A young man so desperate for respect that he'd kill anyone who looked at him wrong. His father abandoned him. His village rejected him. And instead of processing that pain, he turned it into a weapon. Every fight was a chance to prove he mattered. Every victory was a moment of relief from the voice in his head that whispered he was worthless. He won, again and again. Bodies piled up. His reputation grew. But here's what nobody talks about. Winning didn't fix anything. Each victory just raised the bar. Now he needed a bigger opponent, a louder crowd, more witnesses to confirm he was somebody. The hunger never stopped. It just got louder. And his enemies saw it. They knew exactly how to control him. One insult, one dismissive comment about his skill, and Takezo would charge in, emotional, sloppy, predictable. His need for respect wasn't strength. It was a leash anyone could grab. He was winning fights, but losing himself. Then something broke. Years in the mountains, caves, forests, places where no one clapped when he succeeded, no one booed when he failed. Just silence, wind, trees that had been standing for centuries and would keep standing long after his bones turned to dust. Nature doesn't care about your reputation. A river doesn't ask who your father was. A mountain doesn't bow to your skill. And slowly, in that silence, Takezo began to dissolve. What emerged was Musashi. Not a man who hated people's opinions, not a man who pretended they didn't exist. A man who finally understood they had no weight. Words were just sounds. Praise was just air. Criticism was just noise from people fighting their own battles. 7 days before his death, he sat in a cave and wrote the Dokudo, 21 precepts, his final gift. And running through all of them was one thread: complete detachment from external validation. He didn't become cold. He didn't become bitter. He became free. And that freedom wasn't a personality trait he was born with. It was built pattern by pattern, shift by shift. Part 3. Pattern 1. The small self. Musashi wrote, "Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world." Most people read that as humility advice. Be modest. Don't brag. That's not what he meant. He meant something far more useful. Your anxiety comes from one false belief: that you're the main character, that everyone is watching your movie, that your failures are headline news and your embarrassments are permanent stains on some cosmic record. Musashi's first pattern was to flip that entirely. You're not the main character. You're a speck of dust on a speck of dust floating through infinite space. So is everyone else. So are your problems. So is the criticism you're afraid of. This isn't depressing. It's the most liberating thought you can have. When you shrink your importance, your problems shrink with you. That awkward thing you said last week? Microscopic. That person who rejected you? They're too busy worrying about their own failures to remember yours. That mistake you replay at 2 a.m.? Nobody else kept the tape. The main character carries the weight of the whole story. A background extra walks freely. Musashi didn't fight for glory anymore. He fought because fighting was what he did. The outcome mattered to his survival, not his identity. Win or lose, he was still dust. And dust doesn't need applause. Here's the shift. Stop asking, "What do they think of me?" That question puts you at the center. Start asking, "Does this actually affect my mission?" Usually the answer is no. And when the answer is no, the thought loses its grip. Part 4. Pattern 2. The no desire buffer. Musashi wrote, "Do not seek pleasure for its own sake." Again, most people misread this. They think he meant avoid fun. Live like a monk, suffer on purpose. That's not the point. The point is about the trap of craving. Watch how this works. You post something online, you check for likes. You get 10 and feel good. Next time you need 15 to feel the same. Then 20, then 50. The high keeps requiring a bigger dose. Now flip it. One post gets ignored. You feel the drop. That silence stings more than it should. You start wondering what you did wrong. You adjust. You perform harder. You become a slave to the algorithm of other people's attention. This is the cycle Musashi refused to enter. If you crave the high of praise, you automatically fear the low of criticism. They're connected. You can't chase one without running from the other, and both of them put the remote control in someone else's hand. Musashi's second pattern was to remove the craving entirely, not suppress it. Remove it. He didn't want applause. So silence didn't bother him. He didn't need validation. So rejection had no sting. He existed in a neutral zone where external feedback was just information, not fuel. Here's how you start building this. For 1 week, do one thing well every day that you tell nobody about. No posts, no mentions, no hints. Complete something excellent and let it exist in silence. This feels uncomfortable at first. You'll feel the itch to share. That itch is the craving. Let it pass. Do it again the next day, and the next. You're building proof that your actions have value without witnesses, that the work matters even if no one claps. When you stop needing the applause, you stop fearing the silence. But there's still one problem left. You've shrunk your ego, you've killed the craving, then someone walks up and insults you directly, right to your face. What do you do with that? Musashi had an answer, and it's the final pattern. Part 5, Pattern 3. The ghost defense. Musashi's final pattern is the simplest to understand and the hardest to master. If you have no ego to defend, there's nothing for an attack to hit. Think about the physics of an insult. Someone throws words at you. Those words need a target to land on. They need something solid. Your pride, your self-image, your need to be seen a certain way. That's the surface area. Musashi eliminated the surface area entirely. When someone insulted him, there was nothing to wound. The words passed through like a fist through smoke. Not because he suppressed his reaction, because there was genuinely nothing there to react. Most men do the opposite. They build their identity like a castle. Walls of reputation, towers of status, flags announcing who they are and what they've accomplished. Then they spend their whole life defending it. Exhausting, endless, and ultimately pointless. Because the castle isn't real. Musashi built nothing, so there was nothing to protect. Here's a technique that moves you in that direction. When someone criticizes you or says something that stings, ask one question. So what? Trace the insult to its actual impact on your life. Someone thinks you're stupid. So what? Does that change your intelligence? Someone says you're a failure. So what? Does their opinion alter what you've actually built? Follow the so what chain to the end. Almost every time, you arrive at the same place. Nothing real has changed, just sounds in the air. And when you see that clearly, the urge to defend disappears. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to explain yourself. You can let wrong opinions exist. They change nothing that matters. The strongest defense is having nothing to defend. Now you have all three patterns. Separately, each one weakens the chains. Together, they break them completely. Part 6. The immovable mind. Let's put this together. Pattern 1. The small self. You stop believing you're the center of the story. Your importance shrinks. Your problems shrink with it. The criticism you feared becomes microscopic because you become microscopic. And in that smallness, there's freedom. Pattern 2. The no desire buffer. You stop craving approval. When the craving dies, the fear of rejection dies with it. You exist in a neutral zone where praise and criticism are just information. Neither one moves you because neither one feeds you. Pattern 3. The ghost defense. You stop building an identity that needs protection. No ego to defend means no surface area to attack. Insults pass through, opinions float by. You're not suppressing reactions. There's simply nothing left to react. 3 patterns, 1 result. You become what Musashi called the immovable mind, not arrogant. Arrogance is another form of chains. You need people to see your superiority, not bitter. Bitterness means you still care, just in a different direction, not cold. Coldness is a wall, and walls require maintenance. Free. You move through the world without hooks for people to grab. Your choices come from your own compass, not the crowd's applause. You do what needs to be done without checking if anyone is watching. Musashi wrote his final precept. Do not regret what you have done. He didn't care if history remembered him. He didn't write the Dokudo for fame. He wrote it because it was true, and truth doesn't need an audience. That's the state he reached. Not superhuman, not mystical. Just a man who finally stopped performing for people who weren't watching. The same state is available to you. Not tomorrow. Not after some perfect moment of clarity. Now, pattern by pattern, shift by shift. The prison door was never locked. You just forgot you could walk out.